they're an ancient dog. They were guard dogs. So I just said, okay, they fed them thieves and criminals. So I just do the same thing.
Spending time chasing nights, cruise the one until we see the sunrise. Hit my line, we align. Every night with you's the time of my life.
My name is Marcus E. Curtis. I'm with Old World Molossus, and I'm the founder and resurrector of the American Molossus. It's kind of controversial name because I brought back an ancient breed that's from 1200 to 5000 BC. The American part of it is because I thought it was really important for people to know where this breed was brought back. The Molossus originally is from ancient Mesopotamia. It's an ancient breed, and it was really important for me to incorporate that name into it. So sometimes people get confused because they'll say an ancient breed from America, and that's where it came from. So the question, if you would ask me what's my favorite bloodline, I would say that I don't have one because I actually brought back this particular dog. But what was important is finding diversity, going out no matter where it was, whether it was locally or if it was internationally. You know, I've gotten dogs from Poland, Germany, Italy, and I went out and found the most important dogs that I thought had the traits that I was looking for, had the temperament, had the health. And so some of those bloodlines out there were favorites of mine, but I don't have a particular one because obviously I had to collectively get a bunch of different bloodlines to blend together. As far as how many bloodlines did I use for this particular breed, offhand, I believe we have 22 different bloodlines that were incorporated into creating what we have. It was really important because reading books and studying breeders that have actually created new breeds, they generally would be among themselves. They keep everything within their kennel. They didn't share. So it took them years and years and years to do it. So I had to take a different approach because I wanted to bring these dogs back. I wanted to have them healthy and robust, and I also wanted to make sure that we did it in a really fast timeline, so I had to incorporate a lot of bloodlines. You know, I first learned about the Molossus early on. When I first started breeding, it was back in 95, so a long time ago. All of the large breed dogs at that time were referred to as Molosser breeds, so they are all descendants of the Molossus. I didn't really start to get the idea of actually bringing that dog back until, I'm going to say about 15 years ago, I learned about the Molossus again, but I actually saw the statue of the Molossus, and it was this titanic, giant, big, ancient dog that had cropped ears and had this black brindle coat and hard to see at night and all this crazy history. And when I saw that, that's when I would start to fantasize about, and can you imagine? I mean, imagine that dog being able to see this crazy big beast from ancient Mesopotamia roaming again. I mean, it was like a crazy idea. And then I started, the juices are flowing, the creative idea of like, could that be done? How is it possible? And all those things. And then the first experiment would have been probably about 10 years ago. And then the actual full-on leap into it would have been, these dogs are now 6.5, so about 7 years ago. What I think of a responsible dog breeder is, it's a tough question because when you've been breeding as long as I have, 95 to now, it's one of those things where there's breeders that have been around and they'll say backyard breeders and they'll put down people that are just getting started. And I really am not like that. And the reason why is because I remember when I first started and I had there was nothing inside of me that said, I just want to be this famous breeder or a big breeder or great. I loved that particular dog, which were Rottweilers at that time. And I go, I just love this dog and it would be fun to breed, just kind of experience the experience of it. At that time, an established breeder maybe could have encouraged me at that time, but they also could have bashed me and said, this young kid doesn't know what he's doing. He shouldn't be doing this. So I actually I'm not critical about what it is, who's good, who's bad. The only thing I would say as a responsible breeder is that I would encourage somebody to ask them, why are they breeding? Like, what's the purpose of it?
Okay.
Are you just doing something just for no reason, or do you have an idea and a goal of what you're doing? Are you focusing on making this particular breed better? How are you doing that? Or if you're creating a breed, why? Like, what's the purpose behind it? So my thing is I'd like to be a breeder that would encourage somebody to just basically try to make them better, try to help them become better. That's the type of person I am. I have people that call me that are experienced breeders and rookies, and I just try to encourage them. You know, sometimes it's encourage them to not be a breeder, but sometimes it isn't. We just have these conversations that they've never thought about, and, you know, they become maybe better, you know. So I think that the biggest thing is a goal. So the type of diet I like for these dogs is, they're an ancient dog. They were guard dogs. So I just said, okay, they fed them thieves and criminals, so I just do the same thing. No, what I do, and it's changed, it's evolved. In fact, it's still evolving, because the goal with any breed, or at least with my breeds, is you want to try to get them to live longer and be healthier, not just the look and the function, all that stuff. So I've read a lot of stuff about diet. And I've, over the years, have done different things, the way I've fed them, how many times I fed them. I currently feed them a dry kibble that I think is ideal for them, but I also mix in a milk supplement. I do give them salmon oil, which is good for their coat and their heart health. That's what I've done. Now, I did recently watch a documentary from a lady who had studied dogs throughout the world that have lived the longest. And she tried to dig in and find out, okay, what is it that's consistent amongst all these dogs and help them live? I think the oldest dog, and I could be wrong on this, I think she said 23 years, which is like, it's mind-blowing, 23 years. And he was on a farm, and they fed him normal food, milk, which was interesting, but there was no like super healthy, wasn't a barf diet or a raw diet. It was just kibble, food scraps, milk, and it lived to be really old. So what she did is she derived from all of them that if dogs have a consistent diet, milk in their diet, which is interesting, moderate exercise, and then companions, whether they're humans or other animals, where they constantly have love and interaction, those are kind of the key components. So I'm sticking to what I'm doing. I have kibble, I have supplements, I have put lamb milk, some people goat milk. I feed them twice a day. And I have incorporated some vegetables and rice into the diet. That's something I've just done recently. I'm experimenting with it, hopefully with good results. And of course, you know, as people follow me, I'll be honest and say, hey, this isn't working so well. I made adjustments or switches, but that's where I'm at right now. By the time they're 6 weeks, I feed them twice a day. And that's consistent till the end. And the times are basically 12-hour intervals. So my schedule is roughly 7 and 7. That's kind of the same with the puppies, young adults, older dogs. The only thing that I change and modify is when the dogs get older and they're no longer in their prime. You're trying to think of prolonging their life. So it's my thought is to try to keep them a little bit leaner. I don't give them the milk supplement later on in life, although I may change that based on the new studies. But I usually will pull the milk once they're older. But exercise, I think, is a key component. Part of my thought process is when they're older, don't push them, don't exercise them. But apparently moderate exercise even through old age is something that's good. So I'll continue that. But that's what I do with the food. So when it comes to exercise and health for the dogs, I actually do walking. I have multiple dogs, and I have a small dog, a pug, has a lot of energy. So they interact and play constantly throughout the day. But walking and then sometimes hiking, I posted videos where I'll hike Mount Rubidoux, and it's roughly 2 miles up, 2 miles down. And of course, these dogs are big, so I wouldn't push them hard in the heat in like June to August. I wouldn't do that. But when it's cold and spring, I will. I'll have them do that. And then these dogs can do whatever. They can swim, they can run, they can chill, like they like to. But moderate exercise and not pushing them is good for this breed. So the process of getting one of these puppies is a little bit different. There's not a ton of these dogs out there. and I don't want them to be that way. So the biggest thing with me is finding out if the person understands large breeds and what's involved, because they're not inexpensive. They can consume anywhere from 10 to 16 cups of food a day. You have to be able to moderate exercise. You have to have the patience to socialize them, groom them for giving them basic obedience, stuff like that. So I go through that process with these people, and then also make sure that the breeding is restricted. So if they're going to breed at all, do they have experience? Are they going to work back with me? Are they going to try to use these with other breeds? I have to really be in control of that, because this is a large breed. It's very special to me. So I go through that process with the people that have them. And then I also tell them that I'm going to expect them, I'm not going to call them every day, but I do expect them to communicate and stay in touch with me so that I know what's going on with them. I can keep track of anything that's good happening with them, anything that's bad happening, why, so I can adjust and fix things. And just the history of it and from where it began, and bringing a dog back like this, I want to just make sure that the breed can be seen. So we see updates. People can kind of see how these dogs are in different climates, different areas. So that's what I do. That's the process of selling the puppies. So this particular breed in the beginning didn't exist. So showing them was more of like an expedition. So we would show up at USBR and actually go and show the dogs, walk them around. And then as this breed was accepted and by different registries, they're at 5 registries now, we'll show up and show them. The thing that's hard is when a breed is new, you don't have the numbers to where you really have a justified actual competition. So we haven't quite got there yet. The breed is all over the United States and now international, but getting them together in groups is difficult. So what we've been doing is video shows. And it started during COVID. It was kind of an interesting thing, but we'll go through the whole gamut of showing the dog, running them around the ring, stacking them. And then what we'll basically do is that once we do that, we'll send that off, and then the other people do that, and then we have this competition. So that's kind of what we do with them. But we do show them, just it hasn't been in a real competitive group yet, but it will be, because our numbers are quite large now, and we're almost ready for AKC, so it's a big deal. So advice that I would give to any upcoming breeders is this. It's kind of the same thing that I've done with several, is that find out what's the purpose behind breeding. So I would say, is it an established breed? And if it is, what made them want to do it? And then if it is not, if they're wanting to create a breed, so to speak, then I would ask them, what are they creating? Why are they creating? And if it is, I would talk to them about writing down the standard so that they can have something in writing that actually talks about what that dog should look like, how it should function. Think about the colors, think about the size. Is it going to be really small? Is it going to be big? And is that the look designed for the function of that dog? And I would just try to encourage and help them that way. I'd ask them a series of questions so that they can kind of think about, maybe this is not for me, or maybe it is, but I never thought in depth. Like when I'd worked on bringing the Molossus back, I put a lot of thought into it. I'd wrote a standard. It was a little easier for me because I'm bringing back a dog that already existed. So it's a little bit harder for somebody that's creating a new breed, but I would ask them those basic things. I never want to be negative. I never want to scare somebody away, and they're not a competition. None of that. It's mainly just as a human being, try to understand where they are in their life, why they're doing it, what's the purpose behind it, and then just try to encourage them. Through my experience, maybe there's some things I can do to share with them, pitfalls, financial burdens, because there's a lot that goes into breeding. I have a litter right now. Literally every 2 hours when they're first born, you have to be on your toes watching them. There's no sleep. You're having to make sure they get plenty of milk, making sure mom's producing enough milk, making sure mom is healthy and doing what she's supposed to do, making sure the milk isn't bad, having bottles, knowing the temperature, being able to bottle feed if necessary, keep the environment clean, temperature. So I'll go through as much as I want, as long as they want to learn. And then hopefully by that conversation, when we're done, they can say, hey, what, Marcus was a big help in that. He helped me. He helped encourage me to become better, or he made me realize I don't want to do this. But those are, to kind of condense it all, is just try to encourage a person to find out the reason behind what they're doing. With the American Molossus, I'm the original breeder, but I couldn't have done this by myself. So what I did is I mentored really good people and started their own kennels. So there are multiple kennels and breeders of the American Molossus now. We have an American Molossus Kennel Club. It's legit now, but looking back, when it comes to who did I look up to, I looked up to a lot of people, and it was really diverse. So I would read books on breeders from the past and people that had bred for 10, 20 plus years, and read those books and try to learn from their mind and experience how they were able to do that. And this could be Labrador Retrievers, this could be Cocker Spaniels, this could be Great Danes. And then I would also, Ed Shepherd was somebody who I looked up to. He was part of the American Bully and Dax Lion, and for him to have accomplished what he accomplished, I really enjoyed my conversations with him. There are multiple breeders now in America that I have conversations with on probably a weekly or monthly basis. There are breeders in Italy that had been around for a long time, won world shows, and I've had a lot of really good conversations with them. They had a huge impact on me, huge influence on me. And I just think that it was really important for me in the beginning and now to always have people that I look up to, different breeders, not just one, but multiple breeders. That way you get multiple perspectives, multiple situations of good and bad that they had to overcome to be where they are. And so it was really important to me. There was some key breeders that I'm friends with that, I'm grateful for, that would always be critical. They'd say, hey, why are you doing this? Why did you do that? And they'd call me out on it. And I thank them for that, because those are the people that really push you. It's like a coach. So for me, there's no one breeder. There were several that I've had and have along this process. And I hope to be one of those types of breeders that welcome people, where I can encourage them, where I can help them, and they can look back and go, man, Marcus was a huge help. It's important to me to give back and be that way too. So the biggest goal of this year for me is to do everything I can to push to be AKC recognized. AKC in the beginning wasn't the goal. It was to bring back the Molossus. But it's one of those things where, when you get all this positive feedback from people and then you get pushback and hate, I'm one of those types of people where I look at that and I just said, okay, you look at these remarks and all the positive ones you love because of hard work pays off. But then there's those critical ones. And then there's some that are just dumb, like they're fat and stupid. Like no one cares. Everybody knows that's dumb. But then there's some that, again, like your friends and your mentors that push you. There are questions that they ask about certain things. And one is, well, they're not AKC. That's the only way they'll be legitimate in my eyes. That's a fair comment, because AKC and FCI are the big registries that are the oldest and are the most respected. And so for me, I thought, for the Molossus to get to the point where they're AKC recognized, that's a huge accomplishment. It is not easy, and it's a challenge that I was up for. And so the AKC, according to their guidelines, you have to have at least 3 generations of that dog. Well, we're going on 5. We have 4 going on 5. You have to have a recognized kennel club, which we do, the American Molossus Kennel Club. And then you have to have 300 dogs produced, which is a big feat. And we're at 289. So this year, it'll be huge for me to push really hard and work with everybody to get it AKC recognized. And for anybody that's ever followed me with this breed, I've done it all, and I'm not saying that because I want to pat myself on the back. I'm just saying that I'm the type of person that I set goals and I want to make it happen this year. If it is an AKC this year, it will be darn close. That's the goal for sure for this breed this year. In 10 years, I would just like to see this breed just consistent and healthy. Over the next 10 years, that's a lot of time to where we can, not just me, but other breeders can look and say, okay, are we where we want to be? And if not, what adjustments, what changes can we make to get there? So like the goal for me is to have a large, massive breed that can live 10 to 12 years. And a lot of naysayers, of course, are saying that'll never happen, they'll die early and all that stuff. But I'm still a positive thinker, so I'm thinking, okay, well, we'll go and we'll see where we're at, and then we'll make adjustments, whether it's genetically, whether it's diet, exercise, whatever it is, we'll make those adjustments. So I'd like to see in 10 years the breed consistent and healthy. That would be the number one thing for me. The other thing is I don't want this breed to be commercialized. I don't want it to ever be this huge household name. There's a million of them out there. I know I can't control that, but they're a special breed and they're not for everybody. So health would be number one, as far as consistency, and then making sure the breed doesn't get too big. Those are the things that would be big for me over the next 10 years. Well, I would say that in the stage where we're at with this breed and there other breeders, I've designed it to where it's not competitive. So for instance, if you're with Rottweilers or the American Bully or Shih Tzus or Pugs or whatever it is, there's a lot of them and it becomes a competitive thing. But with this particular breed, I don't want it to get like that. I think we have a community where it's built on encouragement and trying to be consistent. So my thing is always going to be the same thing. I'm going to try to have my imprint on it, is trying to have the dog that best represents the standard that I wrote and pushing that all the time, but not really competitive. So like right now, there are breeders out there. What would separate me from them? I would say not a whole lot, because most of it was spawned by me. But ultimately, I'm the one that had the vision. I'm the one that wrote the standard. I'm the one that really, truly knows this breed and what it should look like. And so if they come to me and a client asks me what's the difference, or if one of those breeders comes out to me and says, hey, Marcus, what it is, that's what I'm always going to shift to, is the standard, and just trying to hold that standard. Well, the dogs basically are part of my life, so it's hard to separate it. I have a business where I'm home a lot, and so I'm around my dogs all the time, so it doesn't matter what I do. They're here, they're outside, they're inside, they're my friends, my family have them or are involved, and when I have functions, they're around us. So it's basically, if you don't like giant dogs, if you don't like slime, don't come over to the house, so they're involved with everything. And it does make it a challenge, like when I have puppies here or whatever it is, I can't take long vacations. I can't get away like some people do, because, I love my dogs and they're a part of my life. So it's hard to be away from them. But yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way. My name is Marcus Curtis. I'm Old World Molossus, breeder of the American Molossus. You can check me out at Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok at Old World Molossus. And if you ever have any questions about this particular breed, the history, or you're an established breeder, new breeder, or looking to get a dog or a puppy, I would encourage you to reach out to me at any time. I'm not the type of person that would just shun you. I encourage you to reach out to me, and if there's any way I can be a help to you or work with you, I look forward to it.
Spending time chasing nights, cruise the one until we see the sunrise. Hit my line.